This is SAME headquarters. My name is Nicole Matthews. I'd like to just let you know that we're going to get started shortly. We're just allowing a few more attendees to sign on. Thank you for your patience. Good afternoon and welcome to the SAME headquarters webinar titled Post Programs that Support STEM. My name is Nicole Matthews and I'll be available to assist with any technical issues that may arise today. If you have trouble connecting, please email me at nmatthews@same.org or you can call WebEx at 1-866-229-3239. During the presentation, please submit all your questions through the Q&A box located on the right side of your monitor and send to all panelists. Not all questions will be answered during the live presentation, but we will do our best to ensure that a complete list of all questions and answers are sent out to all participants after the webinar. Finally, our webinar today has been recorded. Within 3 business days, you'll receive an email providing a link to today's presentation. Once again, thank you for your participation. I will now hand it over to Carrie Ann Williams, member of the STEM Task Force. Carrie?
Thank you, Nicole. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carrie Ann Williams. I'm the SAME STEM Task Force Chair, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. I'd like to welcome you all to the webinar on behalf of the Society of American Military Engineers, and we hope you find it valuable to you and your post. Our main goal for today's event is to give the post some guidance and actionable takeaways and how-tos for implementing post programs regarding STEM outreach, regardless of post size or resources. As with the task force, we want to provide posts with the tools necessary to productively execute STEM programs in your community and to further STEM-related interests of our next generation. Now, please allow me to introduce our presenters. From the Fort Benning Columbus Post, we have Kurt Ticknow. From the Scott Field Post, Ed Cholquek. From the Northern Virginia Post, Bill Kilpatrick. And from Jacksonville Post, Laureen Brokener. I'll have closing remarks for you at the end of the webinar. A reminder to write in your questions in the Q&A box. We'll get to them at the end of the presentation. At this time, without further delay, on to our presentations. Welcome, Kirk.
Hello. Can I be heard? This is my first question.
Yes, we can hear you, Kirk. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you. I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm, as you said, Kirk Tickner. I'm the Professional Development Chair at the Fort Benning Post, which is a small post. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing here. We have, for many years, had a very active STEM program. Education and mentoring is a big thing to us, and I'll just kind of give you a brief summary of what we're doing and then give you some idea of lessons learned. One of the things we supported here was a STEM honors camp at our local university. And the idea of that camp was to bring high school students in from all over the state of Georgia to Columbus State University, and it's a residential experience where they go to Columbus State University for 2 weeks in the summertime and learn about careers in STEM, and it is focused on it's a great camp. The kids have a good time, but they learn all kinds of things about how to succeed in college and what career options are available. And it's I can tell you it's kind of a life-changing experience. What the school did when they started this thing about 3 or 4 years ago is they really needed to raise some money to get the thing to be residential as opposed to just a day camp. We came to the table and provided $2,000 as seed money to get that going. once they were able to use our name and point to other sponsors to say, hey, the military engineers on post think this is a good idea, they've contributed money, additional funds came from other sponsors. So we kind of got the ball rolling. And as a matter of fact, that's a picture on my slide of us talking to the STEM students about careers in engineering, and a great experience. The next thing is we assisted Spencer High School, which is a high school that's adjacent to our property, and they were in need of help for their magnet program. Their magnet program is a computer science program, and they, quite frankly, they're in an area of town where they don't have a lot of resources for things like T-shirts and zip drives and things like that. We started a cooperative venture with them, and the idea was to eventually get a robotics program going, which was impossible at the beginning, but once we got involved and their magnet program grew in strength, they eventually got a robotics program started. What we are doing to try to not only help the magnet program, we're bringing students into our monthly meetings, our monthly lunchtime meetings for technical presentations. And I think it just gave the students a chance to see our members coming to the meeting, and they could see that these different careers, well-paying jobs, kind of made that career thing a little more real for them, so they knew that if they stayed focused on school, they could end up in jobs like the jobs that we have among our membership. And so we were not only providing a philanthropic endeavor to increase our branding or our name recognition, but we were also, I think, planting the seed and getting students interested in math and science. Next thing we do is a regional science fair. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. We provide judges to the fair annually, and everybody enjoys that. Next thing we do is engineering camp support, and we typically sponsor a student or co-sponsor a student to the camp. We find that to be very, very meaningful because not only are we getting somebody that's interested in engineering, we're getting somebody that's usually has a desire to go into ROTC or one of the service academies, and we almost feel like we're recruiting people into SAME by doing that. And we have our annual scholarship program. We're small posts, so we only can afford about $3,000 a year in scholarships, but we do that. We also do some K through 12 activities, although I didn't mention it on my slide here. For instance, this morning we were at, several of our members were assisting an elementary school to talk about catapults, and their project that they're working on right now is to build catapults to hurl pumpkins as far as they possibly can. So as an example, I went to one of the classes this morning and talked about the physical principles involved in levers and force and that kind of thing, and thought that was good. Next slide here. Lessons learned. I think I would say after having been doing this for a long, long time, I think that we want to focus on efforts that are actually going to support our mission and produce future engineers and scientists. And it's the challenge I would throw out to people to think about is how do you measure the effectiveness of your program? It's one thing to brand yourself or spread the word about your program to help your program be robust, but how do you decide what the dollars you spend how do you measure the payback in terms of whether somebody actually engages and gets interested in a career in engineering or science or even military engineering? The other thing is I would mention is we have a plan, a long-term 10-year plan of how much we intend to spend every year, and we review that plan just to see if we're on track. I think one of the things that does is it just kind of helps you stay engaged and make sure that you're spending money on this. And I would always say make sure you get membership buy-in on anything you do. We have a board. We review every expenditure and make sure that we feel that it's supporting our mission. And subject to any questions, that's my presentation. If there aren't any other questions, I'll be passing the ball here to Bill for the next presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I be heard well enough?
Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead.
Good. I'm Bill Kilpatrick, the K-12 Outreach Director for the Northern Virginia Post. We're based at Fort Belvoir in Virginia. Today I want to introduce you to some aspects of the STEM program that we support at the Northern Virginia Post. To give you an idea of the current activities that the Post supports, I have listed several of these here. We volunteer as science fair judges at several high schools and middle schools in the area. We give presentations for all grades at these schools. We support career fairs, a wide range of them. And also some of the high schools have academies or magnet schools associated with them, and we get involved in those too. Some of the schools have even engineering or pre-engineering or science clubs, and those are good places to offer our services for introducing STEM to them. Math Counts for middle schools, probably our longest running program. We've been involved in the last several years with something called the Virginia Science Olympiad. There are tournaments run in Virginia, and we support a number of those. Our members are event supervisors at these Olympiad events. We also provide judges, or have done so, at the regional and national Ocean Sciences Bowl tournaments. And we get very involved in Engineers Week activities. And of course, there's the complement of the support to the SAME engineering and construction camps, where rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors can apply for these camps. We do have separate directors for both the engineering and construction camps and the scholarships, but there is a kind of link through to the K through 12 STEM program as well. Here's some advice from the Engineers Week Foundation. I thought it was rather interesting. Some of the literature that I studied said things like, don't say engineers solve problems using math and science. Apparently that puts a lot of students off. Avoid overusing the word build. And I'm sure a lot of us do that all the time. Do say things like, engineers devise creative and practical solutions They invent, design, and create things that matter. And I thought that rather interesting. And it is true, probably the emphasis is more on what we should say about engineers devising creative and practical solutions, rather than to solve problems using math and science. One of the important things that the Engineers Foundation says is that any interaction with students, we should provide hands-on activities. You'll see the photograph on this slide. Elementary students are doing a hands-on activity that we promoted last April called Strongboat. And the students, either individually or in teams, there are teams of 2 students here. They've got 3 minutes to construct and load a boat made from a 6-inch square piece of aluminum foil to find out how many pennies it will hold before sinking. We'll get the chance. This is a day-long event that we've partnered with in Northern Virginia, and we get the chance to explain Archimedes' principle for water displacement and so on, giving a colorful handout. And Home Depot were very good in supporting us with the supplies and materials. I'm always surprised by the intent of the elementary students' faces here. They're really watching. In 3 minutes, they've got to construct and load the boat. So my advice would be, in any kind of event, provide some kind of hands-on. An important part of the program would be to recognize students' accomplishments. At almost every event, we will provide a certificate for excellence. You'll see the one that we have on the right there at the top right, Certificate of Excellence, was in fact for students who did well at that hands-on event, the Strongboat event. When we have an Engineers Week program, we can use Engineers Week certificates. You see the one on the bottom right. These cost, you can get them from the Engineers Week Foundation. They cost $3.50 for 25. I usually buy several packets of these every year and use them during Engineers Week to give them to students as a token of appreciation for their participation. Along with that, our post holds an annual celebration of students' luncheon in August as one of our meetings, and as well as camp attendees, scholarship winners, and science fair winners, we also invite family members along as well. How to start a program and continue. The Northern Virginia post is a large post. We have over 980 members right now. And so we have a lot of facilities, a lot of people that can help things. So I can only explain what we do. Maybe you could apply it to whatever size of post that you have. But whatever it is, create a sensible program plan for the year. Begin with achievable goals. Do not be overambitious. Keep the plan up to date on a regular basis. With an achievable goal, sometimes the way to start a program like this is to do some science fair judging, because that's very easy, relatively easy to do. It doesn't cost any kind of money, just a commitment of time from some of your members to act as judges. So you can start with something like that. Don't be overambitious. Keep the plan up to date on a regular basis. Recruit post members as mentors early on for each school or organizational activity that you're going to be involved in. Check with the needs of the school and organization that you're going to service. Best to ask them what they would really need. And I've found some surprising answers when I've talked to careers, officers, schools, and so on, as to what would be the best thing to provide to students. The main thing is, of course, when you have a school or an organization that you're servicing, is develop and maintain a relationship with the schools. And building relationships and continuity are sometimes the key and most important things to do here. Share your experiences, and honestly, each year gets easier as you build on that. Again, don't be overambitious at the beginning. Tackle a few science fairs, or continue with some other programs, do some STEM things that Kirk has talked about earlier. Here's an example of a page from what we call the post-program summary. You see on the left are some schools or organizations, the contacts at the schools, the mentor or the point of contact in our post of that particular school or activity, the event, the location, when it is, and the column on the right that you're trying to fill out with volunteers who will be presenters or judges or whatever at these events. If anybody needs a copy of something like this, a template, I'd be glad to provide that. Just let me know. My contact information will be provided near the end. Our program encompasses 5 pages. This is just the first page of it. But I found it a very good technique. We've developed it over the last several years, and it's a good way to keep a track of everything. How do you recruit mentors and volunteers? Here's an example of something that I created just about 6 weeks ago. I'm not sure if you can read it. It's kind of small font there on the screen. But it's basically giving a list of the mentors that were needed and the volunteers that were needed in the upcoming months. Where would you put this information? You'd put it on, for example, your newsletter. Provide it in your newsletter. Provide it on your website. Give it to the board members when you meet with them. Distribute it to the overall membership. And take it back to places that you work and so on, to your colleagues. They may not be SAME members, but they may be interested in being a science fair judge or something else at any of these events. To give you an insight into one of the programs that we're extremely proud of at the Northern Virginia Post is something called ED at TJ. I coined that phrase a few years ago. I thought it rhymed pretty well. And it's something that we do on Engineers Week. TJ is a school. It's called the Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, and it's called TJ for short, in Alexandria, Virginia. And it's been the #1 high school in the U.S. for many years. Our post has a wonderful relationship with them. We provide a program during Engineers Week for the students at that school. We provide information on opportunities available at college. As I said here, it's in our 7th year. Engineers Week is always in late February, and it's a very opportune time to apply to give out information on our SAME camps and scholarships during this Engineering Week. So we find that we are able to do that at this school and at other schools during Engineers Week. is different. We do things differently every year, but usually there's some kind of DVD or video presentation, some prizes, some quizzes, certificates, SAME water bottles are handed out, anything else that we can get from Prince Street as well. And we enjoy some lively discussions with SAME members and the students. Along with that, the George Mason University Student Chapter is only 10 miles away from the school, and so their members attend, and the high school students have a great time talking with the college students. We developed something called table talks, and as you'll see from the next slide, that's all it is. It's basically the students sit around with some of our members. You'll see on the photograph on the left is Commander Sean Hannigan of the Coast Guard. On the right, the lady on the left in the black is Miss Martinez. She's a student at GMU. And that's been very enjoyable for us and for the students to discuss anything to do with STEM, college, and whatever. We got a nice note from the Career Center Director for the one that we did back in February, and it's very rewarding when you get feedback like this. It said that the students really enjoyed it, and because we talked about different branches of engineering that they could focus on, we took in some samples of land development plans, for example, and things like that. And it's always nice when you get something like this from the organizers. No matter what stage your post may be in in terms of STEM activities, it's wise to look ahead for potential opportunities. In the NOVA post, we are looking at 4 future initiatives for next year. First one is that we want a more comprehensive development of STEM support to schools and other organizations. Linking, at the moment we do the STEM at the individual school, but I'm thinking that we have a chance to be more comprehensive around schools and the organizations. Second thing that we want to do that Kirk mentioned a little bit about is, and we've studied it for several years, providing a robotics team support to the high schools and middle schools in our area. Again, we're not saying that we will achieve this, but we're going to start a little bit more. And something that we had a good plan a number of years ago with the Boy and Girl Scouts support. We need to resurrect that a little bit, I think, from what we used to do before. And the fourth one that I'm very interested in myself is the evaluation of possibly hosting a local engineering construction camp at Fort Belvoir. Not a week-long thing, maybe just a day-long or a 2-day-long thing. And see, because we are based at Fort Belvoir, an Army post, and so perhaps we can have a local camp there and have more students being able to participate in the camp experience. So thank you very much for listening. Please contact me if I can help in any way with document templates, things like that, certificates, and wishing you all the best of luck in your programs. Here's my information. The best way to get me is through email, drwkilpatrick@gmail.com. And you can also check on our NOVA Post website, www.novasame.org. And you'll find, if you click down some of the drop-down menus, you'll see K-12 college and college outreach, and that gives information on our outreach activities. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. This is Ed Choplik from the Scott Field Post outside of St. Louis, Missouri. Just a little bit of background on myself. I've been only involved as the K-12 and STEM Outreach Committee Chair for 2 years, so I'll be starting my 3rd year in January. And I think Bill and the other gentlemen have been doing this a lot longer than I have, so I'm going to maybe give a little bit of different perspective on how this got started for me and what we're trying to do with a very small committee. Right now our committee is basically 2 people, so it's very important for us to get volunteers for all our objectives. So when I first agreed to take over as the chair of this committee, I met with the current chair and learned that they had always done supportive math counts competitions, had been involved in both individual school district science fairs and regional science fairs, and started to basically look to get away from the individual school science fairs because of the difficulty of finding volunteers. And other than that, we learned that there really wasn't a lot of engagement with this committee at the high school level. So that's something that I sort of took on to look at ways to not only hit the probably grades 4 through 8, but also to get into the high school level. So what we've been doing for the last couple of years, once again, we stayed involved with math counts here regionally. The Engineers Week activities here in the St. Louis area are unique in that there's a big science center in St. Louis, and they have a science weekend where we're allowed to bring in an exhibit at no cost on Saturday and Sunday and be with a lot of other exhibitors like Boeing and the Corps of Engineers and all kinds of universities. So this has been a great new activity for us to take on. The difficult part is finding volunteers on the weekend. We try to do 2-hour shifts with 2 people. And so far, we've just wanted to do this on Saturday to try to keep people's Sundays free. So it's been very successful, and we're going to continue to keep this up. A new program that I learned about is something called the Saturday Scholars Program, and it's probably unique to us in that in a 2-county area here on the east side of St. Louis in Illinois, there are a gentleman and a woman who are retired school teachers that started this program up several years ago. And what this is every Saturday in February, they gather speakers to come in and present to 2 groups of about 300 to 400 high school honor students. So they were looking for some rock star speakers, and we were able to provide some folks this year to speak on cybersecurity from both a civilian perspective and a military's perspective. We are currently talking to them about doing something in 16 with the Wounded Warriors or Mission Continues program and try to get one of the national leaders of these initiatives in to talk to the kids. So it's been a great find of ours to have this program. And once again, we feel anytime we can get in front of 600, 800 high school students, we want to take advantage of that. There are regional STEM-focused competitions, and once again, just to highlight, we serve as judges at these. We also provide some cash awards to winners that we determine from science fairs and things like this. One thing we also do is we all have access to Sandy Post medallions. We use those also as prizes for anything we judge. One of the things I was able to do, and this might be, again, unique to our area, in that Illinois, each county has a regional office of education that oversees a lot of the curriculum and other training for teachers and administrators. So when I first took over this position, I met with 3 county regional offices of education, and that's really how I found out a lot about all the different STEM initiatives that school districts or private schools were taking on, so that we can look at what activities and or programs were already in play that we were not supporting and that we might want to support in the future. So if any of you do have a similar setup in your areas where you can get to somebody that oversees a lot of the school districts, they're a great resource to find out what's going on. And when I met with all these individuals and I said we wanted to provide mentors and role models, you know, in the classrooms, they were extremely pleased and satisfied to hear that. It's all about spending time with kids, and that's what we want to continue to do here at our post. The future, these are things that we have done this year and are going to continue to look at doing, as well as some initiatives for next year. This is the first year we've participated with the Girl Scouts in what's called Imagine Your STEM Future program. It's one of the local high schools, brings in about 30 Girl Scouts after school hours for additional curriculum, and we supplied 2 guest speakers for this program. We will probably look at beefing that up next year, but this is the first time we tried this program, and we got some very positive feedback from the volunteers. Also, just earlier this month, I believe November 1st, the local regional Boy Scout troops all had their first STEM Merit Badge Day at one of the local universities. Both the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts do have STEM merit badges, so this was a huge success for us with very little effort. We supplied some additional bodies to help with registration, to just sort of be logistical support for this program. It was a full-day program. About 160 Boy Scouts came to this and received merit badges. And this was the first time it was tried, so there are some lessons learned, but we definitely will see this moving forward in 2015. And it really wasn't a major time and effort for us, but a lot of good was done through this. One thing I want to try to do with our committee is form a speakers bureau for classrooms and career nights. We've done sporadic of these, but it's really not been structured, and we haven't done a lot of outreach for this yet to the area schools, and primarily because I want to get a critical mass of about probably 8 to 10 folks that would feel comfortable doing this. And like anything else, probably one of the challenges we all have is sometimes people just cannot take off of work to go to a K-12 school during the day, and so we are careful about that. One other thing I'll share with you is when I picked up this assignment volunteer role, it seemed like there was a ton of stuff for us to do in the spring, but not a lot in the fall. And so I purposely went out looking to try to do fall events because I felt like we were having burnout of volunteers in the spring, because it seems like when Engineers Week and all the science fairs and all this other stuff happens is predominantly in the spring with very little in the fall. So the good news is both the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts programs are fall activities for us, and that helps balance things a little bit. And then the newest thing, we are just having our third meeting on this Thursday, is that between our post on the Illinois side, and then there's a St. Louis post tied to the Corps of Engineers, we have started to have quarterly meeting of the minds with all these different non-for-profit entities that have interest in advancing STEM education in the greater St. Louis area. So the first one of these was hosted at Scott Air Force Base by our post and by the Air Mobility Command Chief Scientist. The last one was hosted by the St. Louis Science Center, and the one this week is actually being hosted by the St. Louis Engineers Club, which is a huge professional network of engineers, primarily on the Missouri side. But this is something we see as an opportunity to, first of all, learn what all these individual organizations are doing in this area, and then trying to match resources, both volunteer-wise, financial-wise, professional-wise, to help us try to make a regional STEM impact. And this is in its early infancy stages. We have learned that the Kansas City area has something like this, so we're going to learn more about how they do it and borrow some of their ideas. But this is something I think we're very excited about, to be a player in a much bigger effort for the region. Once again, these regional STEM Meeting of the Minds initiatives have really helped us identify new allies and new efforts to support moving on in the future. So we're going to see how this plays out. We're excited to be a part of it, and you know, we're going to learn more as the days go on this. Some of my advice and lessons learned from, I think, first of all, being a small committee of actual support, and then also being new to this, is, once again, find existing activities and programs to support versus trying to create new ideas or new programs. You're going to find there's a lot of stuff already happening in your area that they either need financial support and or volunteer mentor support. And once again, when I approach these organizations, I really don't talk so much about financial support as I do about willing and able bodies to supply for mentors and role models and volunteers. I have systematically been slowly increasing our involvement here. We will try to take on like 1 or 2 new events or programs each year. We did one this year, which was a trebuchet contest, which is another, I guess it's the French word for catapult. And while the event was successful, there just wasn't a lot of good opportunities for our volunteers to interact with the students during this competition. So it's something we are probably going to rethink for next year about what should we do at this, or should we replace that with another activity. Once again, don't try to do too much too soon since you have limited resources. Our budget for all of our programs is about $2,000, and mostly that's used for the cash awards at the regional science fairs, and we don't see that number getting bigger here in the future. We want to focus, continue to focus, like you heard from the other posts, on supporting the construction camps and other scholarships that we provide for both high school students, college students, and then we also do provide a couple of stipends for science teachers. These are in the $250 to $500 range to help them buy equipment and materials to further their STEM curriculum. So here's my contact information. Certainly the best way to get a hold of me is email as well. And the other thing I'm trying to do with our STEM outreach also, just to throw another idea at you, is we're trying to focus some of our efforts on sustainability and environmental stewardship. I feel this is a very hot topic in the kids' minds right now, and also it's really part of STAMI's mission on the basis to look at things going forward in terms of being both experts and proponents of sustainability and environmental stewardship. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Laureen. Thank you all.
Okay, Laureen Borchainer. I'm with the SAME Jacksonville Post. I am involved with our scholarships and camps committee, as well as our endowment committee, and I have chaired our outreach committee in the past. Jacksonville Post is a large post with over 700 members. And today I'm going to talk about some of the major activities that our post supports, including a program we call Mentoring Families and Kids, regional science fairs, SAME engineering and construction camps, a local student post, as well as something we call Engineer Career Day, and then our annual scholarship program. Mentoring Families and Kids is a local organization in Jacksonville that was founded back in 2005. The organization focuses on helping pre-college students develop positive attitudes towards academic excellence. They're working to stimulate interest in engineering and science amongst pre-college students. And one of the things I think is unique about their program is they strongly encourage and support parental involvement and commitment to the children's education. So we regularly see parents as well as students participating in activities. Some of the other goals of the program include increasing the number of African American engineers, and I think they tell you too that they'd like to prepare their pre-college students to be positive contributing members of the National Society of Black Engineers. We at the Jacksonville Post bring engineers, and we also bring pizza, to engage students and family members in engineering projects and activities. We're doing this approximately quarterly with middle and high school students, and we also participate in a half-day summer camp where over 100 students typically show up. It's been a good activity for us since we got involved several years ago, and actually this photo shows one of our University of North Florida student chapter members working with a local middle schooler that's involved in that Mentoring Families and Kids program. Jack's Post members participate in regional science fairs at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. One of the biggest ones that we annually participate in is the Northeast Florida Regional Science Fair, where there's over 20 middle and high school participants. And we provide not just judges, but also certificates, and in some of our science fairs, including the Northeast Florida Regional Science Fair, we provide cash awards to students that we select in engineering and physics categories. Jacksonville Post supports regular attendance at the camps each year. The Air Force camp, for some reason, tends to be the top choice for our applicants down here, but we also send students to the CBs and the Marine Corps camps. Some of the things that we do that might be unique is we actively engage our students after their camp experiences by requesting that they write an article with photos for our Post newsletter. We've had students that we sent to camps come talk about their experience at our monthly board meetings. And I think one of the best post-camp activity we've had for students has been to bring them to present about their experience at our annual Engineer Career Day event, which generally has over 100 students and teachers participating. We also use that annual Career Day event to help solicit future interest in the camps. So one of the reasons we bring our students to that, or try to bring our students to that event. And this is just a photo for one of the young ladies on the left who participated in the Air Force Camp program. Our annual Engineer Career Day is one of the many ways our Post helps spark students' interest in engineering and the sciences. We partner in this event each year with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Jacksonville District, and we've been doing it since 2004. It's held during National Engineers Week. This year it was on the 21st of February. We had over 120 high school students and teachers from this year 13 public and private schools in Florida that attended the event. The goal of Career Day is to expose the local high school students who might already have an interest in STEM to various aspects of engineering, and we encourage them to consider pursuing a STEM-related college degree. We actually start planning this event in October, and we rely on a mix of core as well as SAME staff to carry it out. We send emails to establish relationships we have that we've cultivated with local POCs at high schools. And we give them, we set up the date of the event in the November timeframe. We follow that up with a description of a challenging technical take-home project in December. And then the schools form up generally 4-person teams that work through February to complete their take-home project. and bring it to the event for testing. It's an all-day event. We invite local universities, local AE firms to set up booths and interact with the students. There's usually a theme to the day, so we've had themes like infrastructure or aerospace or ecosystem restoration, and we always have a keynote speaker that talks to the theme. And then we provide not just a take-home project, but a surprise problem and a trivia challenge the day of the event, so the students get an opportunity to interact with the universities and firms that are there. And I think overall just realize that engineering can be interesting and fun. Typically we'll recruit judges from who will judge the engineering challenges from local AE firms. We've had, generally have the Corps of Engineers as well as NAVFAC chiefs of engineering and actually directors of engineering professors from Florida universities that come and judge our event. The cost to run it is a little over $3,000, which includes providing lunch for the students. We offset the cost of the event by about 2/3 by donations from firms that set up booths for the day at the event. So this is an activity that we think for a fairly low cost touches a lot of kids. Just a list of some of the types of projects. These are the take-home projects that we've asked students to accomplish in the past. And a picture of one of our take-home projects where students were required to build a bridge using a 16-ounce box of spaghetti and 5 hot glue sticks. This one also took first place in aesthetics category. Just another project was to build a windmill that would use wind energy to do work. And then this is our 2014 take-home problem. It involved development of a ping pong ball launcher that had to rapidly and accurately fire through those 3 vertical holes in the target you see in the left-hand picture from a distance of 15 feet. And we gave them 50 balls in 10 minutes. For setting up and firing, and it was a pretty challenging task. The kids really rise to the challenge, though. Just a list of some of our surprise projects, and when the students come to the career day activity, we have an activity that we ask them to do that they hadn't planned on, and here's just a couple examples of those. And then we have an awards ceremony that our top teams are recognized in a closing ceremony, and we provide medals and a trophy. We call it the James Garland Award for Engineering Excellence. The winning teams in several categories get to keep the medals, and then the top team takes home that glass trophy for the year to display at the school. And this is quite a big deal. We typically go out to the schools and make the presentation in some type of assembly. And then if you notice, there's little plaques on that trophy, and so it comes back each year, and the schools get their names added to it. This is our Colonel Alan Dodd with the Jacksonville District Corps of Engineers on the left, and actually Naval Facilities Engineering Commander Chris Kiewis, and they presented the awards for us this year. He's also our SAME Post Director, was. Our post-outreach committee has done an excellent job since I've been involved establishing a student post at the University of North Florida. Typically, right now, we have about 20 students participating in any given year. Some of the activities that we engage in include a concrete canoe competition. We're doing that for our 5th year with 5 or 6 local high schools participating. We do generally 2 meetings per semester with speakers, so we go over the school and bring speakers. We also sponsor social or trivia nights each semester, and we try and get 1 site visit each semester that we set up with the school as well. We not only provide, resources from the SAME Post in the way of volunteers, but we also financially support the student post by providing pizza for the meetings. appetizers for evening events, or materials and supplies for the concrete canoe competitions. So we support them in a few different ways. Our scholarship program, active scholarship program with set-asides for local universities, local high school students, and local resident college students. The average scholarship award last year for us was $1,500. Some of these we're able to award in a public way. We do these at board events or a scholarship luncheon that are held as part of the local National Engineers Week activities. We're discussing right now how we can establish closer relationships with our scholarship recipients, including mentoring relationships, internships, and multi-year scholarships. So more to come on that. How do we fund our scholarships? We utilize our endowment fund that we've really put a lot of effort into building over several years through hosting regional conferences. And then we also have annual fundraising events like you see in this photo, where we've got some folks playing poker as part of a doing business with the government event that we do every year. We have in the past solicited sustaining member scholarships with somewhat limited success. We also have a 5-year plan, or build a 5-year plan for projecting what our scholarship program should look like. But we build our scholarship as well as our outreach activities into a single budget each year. Just some lessons learned along the way. We have asked students that we support to join SAME, to engage them as long-term members of SAME. As we've grown our program, we've grown our endowment. More funding provides new opportunities, but also provides, opportunities for decision-making about how we can determine what our optimal mix of outreach activities that are going to reach the most students, in some cases for the least cost. And so we continue to have regular discussions about what that mix should look like. There's also, our feeling is a great need for volunteers and mentors in our Jacksonville area. Sometimes it can be challenging to engage membership to support all the outreach activities that we'd like to take on. So we're regularly soliciting for new volunteers, and even talking about potentially establishing some minimum requirements for participation of some of our board members in outreach activities. And that's pretty much all I have for lessons learned from the Jacksonville Post. I guess I'll thank you for your interest, and also say please feel free to contact me for any additional information about what it is we're doing down here in Jacksonville. Thanks.
Kirk, Ed, Bill, Lorraine, I just want to thank each of you for your presentations and for your posts, for all the work that they're doing for STEM programs throughout the country. For the attendees today, I hope that you were able to get a sort of a broad brush view of what posts of different sizes are doing with different resources. We do have a couple of questions posted in the Q&A box, so I'm going to go through a couple of those right now. If you have more, as we keep talking, if you want to post those, we'll try and get to them before the end of the call here. One of the first questions, I think it was posted while Kirk was speaking, and Bill answered it on the chat box. I didn't know if Kirk, you wanted to address how you guys decide to approach K-12 versus universities?
Yeah, I can talk to that. Well, I'll start by saying that we were approached by the university. It wasn't really a conscientious decision on our part to sort out one versus the other, but clearly the STEM honors camp was very much up our alley of something that we wanted to support and see get going here in this region. So that I would have to say that was by just by chance. But we really feel that for our efforts that we're getting a more meaningful, or we're hitting the target audience when we get more up in the upperclassmen of high school or college. They're a little closer to knowing what they want to do, and so we do tend to, we think that our return on investment tends to be a little higher in that area. That's at least how our board feels. Is that kind of what you were getting at, or does that answer your question?
Probably. I think, I don't know, Bill answered on the chat box about universities are served by the post mentor for the student chapter, and the mentor can link students to help support schools. It helps if you have a university student chapter in your post, if you can work with a nearby college or university. I think, Laureen, that's one of the benefits that you guys have too, is the student chapter post in Jacksonville.
That's true. They're close by and really engaged. In fact, I mentioned our scholarship program, but one of the things that we actually provide scholarships to University of North Florida, but we're talking about actually trying to target those scholarships even more than we have in the past to those student post members.
Excellent. One other question that came through for you, Kirk, was about the number of attendees at your camp. How many kids attend the camp at Fort Benning?
Well, I think the camp they're probably asking about is if it's the STEM honors camp, that it's Columbus State University. That's usually about 30 students. And the camp, the other camp that I was referring to was we sponsored a student from North Carolina to go to the SAME camp in Colorado Springs.
Okay. Yeah, the SAME camps are really something I think that all the posts get involved with for part of the streamer requirements at some level. One question for, I think this came through while Bill or Laureen were talking, maybe it was Ed, about follow-up to scholarship awardees. I guess any one of the presenters, do you guys have comments on how you follow up with your scholarship awardees?
This is Ed Choklik. One of the things we try to do each year at one of our regular lunch-in meetings is bring back one or two of the students that have received scholarships to give us an update on their career and their progress with the university or college.
Bill, Kirk, or Laureen, do you guys have any tactics to follow up with the scholarship recipients?
This is Kirk. We do. When we award the scholarship, we ask the students to attend our golf tournament in the spring, which is about the time they're graduating from high school. And one of the reasons why we do that is we want our sponsors to see the students, to be a little more tangible view of their contributions, especially at the golf tournament. That's when our money sponsors come out. The ones I'm talking about are the sustaining members and some that don't always get to our monthly meetings but give a substantial amount of money. They can see the students, talk to the students, see what kind of field of study they're going to go into, and that's meaningful. I love the idea of calling people back to the meetings. I'm going to take that to board as a suggestion.
That's great. I like the idea of the golf outing. It gets the kids to interact with people a little bit more. Okay, and one of the next questions, at Small Posts, have there been any attempts to raise funds specifically for STEM from outside sources other than from sustaining members? Ed or Kirk, do you guys have any other funding sources?
This is Ed Choklik. We do not, but we see the potential from this regional initiative, the STEM Meeting of the Minds initiative we are starting to participate in. And from what I learned about the Kansas City equivalent of this is that, you know, some of the, and I can't think of the name of the foundation, but there's a major foundation in Kansas City that is supporting this effort. And, you know, we have Boeing and other major defense contractors here in the area, and I could see us in a next future state looking at finding to get these major corporations plugged into our efforts.
Yes, and this is Kirk. Just to add, we, even though we're a small post, we co-sponsored a regional SAME conference, and we got a lot of money off of that one. That was at the height of BRAC, and that's sustained a lot of our outreach initiatives.
Excellent. One more question, which I think is kind of interesting. Since so many organizations are pushing STEM activities, are you guys having any difficulty getting FaceTime or becoming involved with programs in your areas with other competitive organizations that are also trying to do the same thing that SAME is doing?
Well, if you don't mind, this is Kirk. I'll go first on that. No, not at all. I think we're the only really the only active engineering professional society here in the city of Columbus, even though it's a large city. We've never had a problem for offering help. Sometimes the science fair gets a few more judges than they need, but that's about the only time I've seen where we're in competition, so to speak.
Anybody else have other organizations that you coordinate with or that get involved with STEM in your area?
This is Lorraine. We do have other organizations in our area. We've got the Florida Engineering Society and the American Society of Civil Engineers, but it seems to me like there's plenty of activities that need volunteers, and so the benefit to having all those organizations is that you know, it's more folks to actually support events that go on in our area. So I wouldn't call it a competitive environment.
And this is Ed Choklik. Once again, I think my experience down here for the last couple of years is a lot of the school districts are desperate to find mentors and role models, and they just have all these things going on, and they really want people to be able to come in and interact with the teachers as well as the students. And once again, this whole regional STEM initiative that we are trying to initiate will just take everything to the next level. And once again, I think being affiliated with the Society of American Military Engineers gives us a lot of credibility. They know we're dealing, the volunteers are professional, they're mature, they know how to behave in front of teachers and kids, and they know they want to do this. Our volunteers are willing to do this, and they appreciate that.
Well, excellent. We don't have any other questions right now. And as was mentioned earlier, the webinar this afternoon has been recorded, And within the next 24 hours or so, you'll receive an email with a link to this presentation, as well as any written responses to questions if they come in after this. Also, a side note, there's STEM resources provided by SAME headquarters. Also, the Academy of Fellows and the STEM Task Force have all contributed to it. There's a web page on the SAME.org website under Committees and Councils that includes a lot of resources, how-tos, and other presentations that might be beneficial to your post as you start to build your program. This concludes our webinar. You may now disconnect, and please enjoy the rest of your day.